Hello, ladies and gentlemen. For those who don't know me yet, my name is Rick Huffman. This is number 133 in my YouTube video series, Marijuana. It's been the past 4 years? 5 years. 5 years almost that I have been shooting these videos. That's why this is number 133. I've got almost 300 hours of videos. Please go to my YouTube station, sign up for updates, subscribe, and watch. All the titles tell you basically what to look for. Basically what each video is about. But I'm always expounding on other things, and things come up off the top of my head. And, well, let's start out with Rick Huffman. Chronic pain patient. 7 chronic pain conditions with PTSD on top. And I am a very outspoken proponent for medical cannabis. And I'm here to tell you that there is no opioid epidemic. Bernie Sanders is in there talking about it now in the Senate. It was just on. It's all bullcrap. The opioid epidemic is being fueled by Big Pharma because they want to push pills like Lyrica, Humira, and other biologic painkillers. I'm here to tell you that cannabis attenuates the symptoms of addiction. 5 years ago, I was on OxyContin and psych meds. I had a 180 turnaround in my personality, and I was drinking on top of all the meds. We're talking Klonopin, go away B. I'm talking Klonopin, OxyContin, venlafaxine, a whole range of medicines that gave me hydrocephaly and put me in the hospital for an overnight stay. After that happened, my doctor dropped me to morphine sulfate, and he gave me medical cannabis because it had just recently become legal in medical cannabis had become legal in Arizona, where I reside. Welcome to the desert. I'm going to go inside here, and I have a manifesto. It just popped off the top of my head. I've got 6 pages. I hope you stick with me. I'll go through it as quickly as possible, as succinctly as possible, without stopping. I'll just read what I wrote, which is very rare for me. I hardly ever stick to my script. I always go off on tangents. But this time I'm going to stick to my script because this manifesto needs to be heard. It needs to be heard nationwide, worldwide. I have friends in Russia. Alexei, if you watch this video, share this with President Putin. I don't mind. I want this to go to the president from the Oval Office on down. The only person I don't care who sees it is Jeff Sessions. He's a butthead. He's perpetuating myths and stereotypes and trying to keep cannabis illegal by saying good people don't smoke marijuana. And they're fueling this opioid epidemic all in the name of pushing pills. Now, a lot of people won't like what I have to say. I don't give a shit. Okay? What I say is truth. Facts. Things that I have found. All it takes is a simple Google search and you can know everything that I know. Or you just watch my videos. I'll tell you. And I tell you when I'm doing supposition, and I tell you when I'm doing facts, and I tell you when I'm giving you my opinion. Well, this is my manifesto, and it's going to be all my opinion. And it's going to be talking down Big Pharma, be talking down the FDA, Department of Justice, the DEA, all these people who are fueling the opioid epidemic need to realize something. That when I went on cannabis and morphine sulfate together, before I had a monkey on my back, a gorilla, a big, angry, frickin' gorilla on my back from OxyContin and the psych meds. After I dried out from them and got the morphine and marijuana, my life changed for the better. And I'm living a quality of life that I did not have 10 years ago. Because I was in pain so chronic, so intense, that I could not do a video. I could not focus long enough to talk to people. I couldn't focus on a TV commercial. Roll your own cigarettes. They keep going out. But they're better than Marlboros. They don't have additives. Just got to keep lighting them up. So, I like to start my videos outside. It's getting warmer, but it's still chilly this morning in the shade here. But I'm going to go inside as soon as I finish this. And I'm going to give you my manifesto. And I hope people come and subscribe to my channel after watching this. Because I have a lot to say. And I've already said a lot in the previous 132 videos. And it's all about cannabis, the FDA, and the big pharmaceutical companies, and companies like Monsanto that are poisoning us. They're poisoning our food supply. And they got a Protection Act passed through Congress so that they could poison our crops. Yes, Monsanto sends people out in spacesuits so that they're not exposed to the chemicals they're spraying on our food. Go away, V. And just everything I've got to say just popped out of my head this morning. I wrote all 6 pages of this manifesto in an hour and a half. And I hope people listen to it. I hope you realize the truth that is coming out with everything that I say. And I hope it goes all the way to the president. And I hope it goes to the worldwide. Every country. North Korea, Uruguay, Lithuania, Croatia. Smart countries. They have let anybody have marijuana. Free. Grow it. Smoke it. Possess it. Do everything. Meanwhile, in America, we have the pharmaceutical industry fueling epidemics so that they can push their new poisons on us. And I have a lot to say about these new age biologics. So we're going to go inside here in just a second, and I will see you inside. Pausing. Okay, my friends and pain family, regular family. If my regular family even looks at my videos anymore. As far as they're concerned, I'm a pillhead or something. And they just don't know that pot is safe. But I've got a lot to tell you about safety with medication. Okay, let me get my book turned to the right page. Okay, and we're starting. Here we go, folks. Video number 133 in my continuing series called Marijuana. Now, I, Rick Huffman, hereby swear, avow, and affirm to continue my YouTube video series titled Marijuana until such time as the rest of these United States has legalized at least medical cannabis. I vow to continue to harangue Big Pharma for their wanton lust for money that creates these new classes of biologic poisonous drugs that are nothing short of hazardous concoctions of plant and animal DNA, things that do not belong in our bodies. I'll get to the end of the story here where I'll talk about the biologics and me. Now, I will attempt to tag everyone from the Oval Office, President Trump, on down. Lawmakers, law enforcement officials, okay? I know sheriffs, a very high percentage of sheriffs in America would like to see alcohol more regulated and cannabis legalized. That's got to tell you something. Okay, These are people that are usually forced to go after cannabis, and 800,000 arrests per year. It's ridiculous because cannabis is made for our bodies. Or rather, our bodies have evolved to utilize cannabis through the endocannabinoid system. Now, like I said, I'll attempt to tag everyone from the president on down until the federal government stops the extremely prolonged prohibition of the Cannabaceae family of cannabis and hemp. Through time, I have researched cannabis and hemp. Oh, damn it. I'm dropping stuff all over the place. Sorry, one little faux pas. So, through time, I have researched cannabis and hemp, and I have found that the prohibition of such has been the downfall of Western medicine, and it has cost too many lives. Too many people have died at the hands of the pharmaceutical industry and the cancer industry. Pharmaceutical industry, along with the FDA, DOJ, DEA, and other governmental agencies that are continuing to perpetuate the lies and falsification of data to push these poisonous pills. I will not sit down and be quiet as this lust for money from Big Pharma and others is perpetrated at the expense of people's lives. And they continue to lie and falsify data to market their poisons. It is a fact that the Cannabaceae family of marijuana and hemp are potent, plant-based medicinals with 0 deaths ever recorded in history. 10,000 years. Okay, whereas Big Pharma has been responsible for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of deaths annually in the United States alone. And their concoctions that are just a vain attempt to enslave this population to their drugs that do so much more harm than good, and their attempts to perpetuate these lies to keep cannabis illegal. It's been proven over and over again that cannabis and hemp can literally save this planet. And millions of lives can be saved and improved by the utilization of cannabinoids. The FDA, which is supposed to be helping Americans with safe foods and medicines, it's in the name, Food and Drug Administration. Okay? As far as I'm concerned, they seem to have been bought off and paid for by the top 1%ers who are raking in the cash at the expense of people's lives. And it's freaking ridiculous, and it should not be happening. Too many of these new biologics have side effects that end up requiring patients to take even more biologics to fix the side effects caused by the initial pill. Even more and more dangerous drugs to fix the problems that they themselves create. The lies must stop. The truth is out there for all to see, and with over 14,000 known clinical trials, they still say we need more. Bullshit. There's too many facts out there that prove that the FDA is taking Big Pharma's word on single clinical trials to put drugs out there. Just last year, Invokana and Invokamet, okay? It's supposed to help with diabetic nerve pain, and it's supposed to help control your A1C levels, which is bullshit. Nobody cared about A1C levels until they came up with a drug that affected them. And you're supposed to continue to take your insulin while you're taking these. You don't need them. You only need your insulin. And if you use cannabis, you will use less insulin because it fixes your pancreas and it controls blood sugars. So, there are hundreds of success stories with people safely medicating with cannabinoids, right down to people that have children that go through multiple grand mal and petit mal seizures daily, and they come out of these seizures in pain from their body being locked up, and all their parents can do is comfort them. CBD from hemp alone, cannabidiol, rubbed on the gums of a child in the middle of a grand mal seizure, stops the seizure in seconds sometimes. And there is too many success stories of children going from 300 grand mal seizures weekly to none, to sometimes 3 in a month. Tell me what's right. 300 seizures a week or 3 seizures a month? And those seizures are smaller. So, people safely medicating cannabinoids puts cannabis in the spotlight that Big Pharma and the rest of them try to put out the lights and keep poisoning this country, all in the name of the almighty goddamn dollar. And it pisses me off. And that's what created this manifesto. So I'm drinking my cannabis tea. I've got my cannabis vape. I've got blunts, hash, tinctures, salves, everything. Everything cannabis has helped me gain a quality of life that, like I said, just 5 years ago, I had no quality of life. Now, cannabis and cannabinoids have a 10,000-year track record of saving lives. They've even found 4,000 or 6,000-year-old mummified people or frozen people that they found buried, and they found that there was cancer in these people, and they were buried with cannabis and hemp. This shows that even thousands of years ago, the people knew cannabis and hemp helped cancer. It can't help all, and especially if the cancer's gone too far, it can't always help. But caught early enough, you can treat and cure almost all cancers safely and effectively with no side effects except happy, hungry, healthy, which is what the population of this country is supposed to be. That's what the FDA is for. And Big Pharma has stepped out of their boots, and the shoes they put on are just too big, and they just piss me off. 10,000-year track record. And in just the last 2 decades, 20 years, people like Rick Simpson, of Rick Simpson oil fame, Phoenix Tears, Run from the Cure, look that up. Twice, he had a tumor excised on his arm. Twice. And the cancer industry of Canada took it out once, it grew back. It took it out again. It started growing back. Rick Simpson took cannabis and concocted his own oil. A thick, viscous oil. You just take a little drop daily, and you can cure your cancer. Anybody can make this. He gave everybody the recipe for free. The recipe for cancer cure is out there for free. All you need is access to medical marijuana. So, Tommy Chong of Cheech and Chong fame had pancreatic cancer cured. One of the hardest cancers to cure. He cured it with cannabis oil. Then he got prostate cancer. He used hemp CBD suppositories because that's where your prostate is. He cured himself of prostate cancer with hemp CBD suppositories. Didn't smoke weed, didn't have to smoke. He cured it with just hemp. Non-psychoactive, non-addicting hemp. So, where the cancer industry makes everything worse, whatever the cannabis or the cancer industry does, they can't promise you a cure. They can't even say the word promise or cure. And they cannot even promise remission. And when you die, your family is left with the bill. I think if the cancer industry kills the patient, the remaining family should not have to be saddled with the burden of these horrendously overcharged medicines. Okay, they are making poisons and they're pumping them in your arm at the cost of $1,000 to $10,000 per treatment. And 70% of cancer patients die through the use of chemotherapy and radiation. Facts. Hemp-based CBD alone is responsible for giving thousands of epileptics and other seizure disorders sufferers their lives back. It's like I said, children with Tourette's and epilepsy, things like that. Now, every hour of the day, there are TV ads telling us to ask your doctor for X today. And these are the aforementioned biologics. These new age medicines are poisons. And almost every TV ad tells us that the diseases like tuberculosis and other terrible disorders arise from the use of the said biologics. Just watch these commercials that they tell you to ask your doctor for this shit. And listen to the side effects. And then think of all the extra pills you'd have to take to cure the side effects. You'd be on handfuls of medication like I was with my psychiatrist. Okay? Well, this didn't work, but let's keep it going and we'll add this to it. Here's venlafaxine, let's throw some Klonopin in the mix. Our FDA, our wonderful Food and Drug Administration, approves these medicines on the basis of clinical trials that I believe have been falsified. Because just after 1 year on the market, Invokana and Invokamet, 1 year on the market, approved as safe and effective for us by the FDA. 1 year later, the same FDA pulls Invokana and Invokamet off the market because there are class action lawsuits on unnecessary amputations of these diabetics who take this crap. Is that right? Is that not the definition of hypocrisy? This is the same FDA that approved these meds as safe and effective, and they turn around and pull them from the market. Me, I am homebound and disabled 24/7. My TV's on most all day long. Okay? And I am horrified, literally horrified, at the list of side effects that they go running through. And they tell you to look in Elle magazine or the Golf magazine for this drug, and they give pages and pages of little tiny print of everything. And people don't read that shit because it's the fine print that everybody goes, oh, I'll just sign it off on it. People don't look at that close enough. Everybody out there that gets these new drugs, you need to read everything in the pamphlet. You need to read all that fine print. Get a big magnifier or something. You'll need it. But just the side effects of these drugs are horrendous. So, our wonderful FDA has been allowing companies like Monsanto to poison our foodstuffs. And these poisons that they spray on the food seeps into the groundwater that is watering other plants and people. Remember Aaron Brockovich and the whole big scandal about the water in this one area of Texas or Oklahoma? Same thing. So, I keep getting lost. Making money. Okay? No, making most areas of groundwater hazardous to our health. There we go. As if poisoning our food supply for money is the best thing for the USA. I ask everyone, is this the way our country should be run? Cannabis and hemp saves lives, whereas Big Pharma kills wantonly and pays people off and uses politicos for their own evil means in keeping us sick and dependent on their drugs, and companies like Monsanto, Bayer, AstraZeneca, et al. Telling us in these TV ads that if you can't afford your drug, they'll help you out because they want the money. Okay? That's what they want. They just want money. Because you got these CEOs that want multi-billion-dollar benefit packages and millions of dollars in yearly, oh, you made us $2 billion last year. We're going to give you a $2 million bonus. Okay? Shit's ridiculous. People are getting into this, and it's all about the money. Nope, they no longer have the health of the citizens at heart. Maybe the pharmaceutical industry started well, but they have slowly become perverted. And they should not have such sway as to put these commercials on TV, tell us to ask our doctors. They're preying on the hypochondriac population. The people who are going to go, oh, I think I have that. I'm going to go to my doctor. Doc, I need this pill. They told me on TV. That's what happens. Don't doubt it. It happens. So, where was I? So, what I call that, when they say that, AstraZeneca will help you pay for your medication, that is sanctioned homicide. Yes. I blame the FDA and the pharmaceutical industry for homicide. I don't know what degree that it'd have to go through the law books and go through the Supreme Court to see just what the penalties should be. But Big Pharma is depending on these newer drugs because after they are hold on the drug, after a certain amount of time, other companies are allowed to then utilize that drug and market it, at which time the original pharmaceutical company has to drop their price to be competitive. And they invent these new biologics to take the place of the pills that they're losing money on. It's all about money. And they take drug A and they modify it into drug B. And you're still going to need drug C, D, E, F, and G to take care of the frickin' side effects from the original pill. Okay? These newer biologics are not improvements in healthcare. But every new drug they put out is a step backwards in Western medicine. We're supposed to be at the top of the world. Okay? But I'm looking more and more at socialized medicine and saying that they have got a lot of things that we should be copying. Okay? Because it's all turned into a money machine. If it doesn't make us money, we don't want to do anything with it. And they're inventing these things, like I said, with the recombinant plant and animal DNA. Things that don't belong in our bodies. I'll get to about when they were in my body. But the federal government needs to get their shit together and put the pharmaceutical companies, along with the FDA, etc., all the other initials, put them in their place. And that place is to stop creating these poisons. Stop advertising these drugs with a list of side effects from hell and in telling us to ask our doctors for them. It's just wrong. We don't need a better pill. But these people need to make a better pill because they need the money. Okay? Follow the money. And that's what happens. It all comes down to that. Now, I'm a chronic pain patient who utilizes opiates. Tried and true, unadulterated opiates. Morphine sulfate, along with medical cannabis. And I am alive and living a better quality of life than when my doctor and I went through the range of new pain-killing biologics that my body rejected after the very first dose. 5 different biologics for pain-killing. Lyrica, Humira, and I can't remember the other 3. First day, first dose. They take it at bedtime. Well, I'm in bed less than an hour, and I wake up stabbed in the gut, and I run to the bathroom, and I puke blood. 5 times in a row. Biologic, 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 biologic. Opiate did not create those problems for me. Now, when I was on Oxycontin without cannabis and the psych meds, I had bad OIC, opioid-induced constipation. Well, I am now on more morphine sulfate than I was on Oxycontin, and I don't have 1 iota of morphine side effects. I don't bruise easily. I don't have the constipation. I've even forgotten to take my morphine. One day last week, I woke up and I was just hurting and tired. I was drinking my pot tea and hitting my vape, and I laid down and slept. And I woke up, went out and had a cigarette, came back, laid down and slept. My wife comes home and woke me up at 6:30, and I woke up and I'm going, oh God, I feel horrible, babe. She looked at my pillbox and said, you forgot to take your morphine. Fact. Because cannabis attenuates the symptoms of addiction. So I didn't feel that I needed my morphine. Because that's addiction. So I'm not addicted to morphine because of cannabis. Let me get back to where I was. I already started going off script there. So, went through these poisons. First dose, woke up, biologics. I have never had before any bad experiences with past pharmaceuticals. Except for when I started becoming allergic to penicillin. But that's it. People build up allergies to antibiotics. And antibiotics those newer classes are not bad. They're better than the biologic painkillers and BS diabetic medications like Invokana and these other things I just saw this morning. I can't even remember. But with these new age drugs, my body smartly rejected them. And as I said, I take morphine, quetiapine, Valium, and amitriptyline along with medical cannabis, and I have had no adverse reactions in the last 5 years. In fact, I had chronic bronchitis, asthma, and COPD, and the beginnings of emphysema cured with cannabis. After 6 months, I realized I didn't use my inhaler anymore. I didn't need it because cannabis cleans the lungs. And I'm working on my emphysema. It's almost gone. Just last January, I had a Hep C scare. I had Hep C. Well, it was 2 months before I got to go and get the genotype done. But during that 2 months, I was smoking more and using more of the cannabis concentrates. When by the time I got back to the doctor's office, they took my blood and it came back as no hepatitis in my body. Fact. Am I special? Everybody's special in their own little way, but all of our systems basically work the same. So, if I can beat Hep C and emphysema, COPD, chronic bronchitis, well, by damn, I can cure just about anything else. As far as my structural damage, I have problems there. That's where my pain arises. Occluded nerves, bad discs, bone-on-bone grating. Those things, cannabis helps with the pain. Dun, dun, dun. So I'm alive and living better quality of life onto the new range of painkillers. Where did I leave off? So, I am fated, it's my fate, to be on opiates and cannabis for the rest of my life. But I know that my quality of life will not get worse unless my primary care physician goes off and takes my meds away and pushes more biologics on me. But I don't believe he will. It was 3 years of the 210 milligrams of morphine daily. Okay? At the end of that 3 years, I asked the doctor for one extra 30 milligram immediate release. So I'm now taking 240 milligrams. And I promised him 3 more years before I asked for another increase. And he's happy, and he's satisfied. And I gave him my drug history. I told him the truth. I said I used to smoke weed back in the day. I dropped acid. I did coke. I did this. I did that. Unashamedly. Okay? That's what happened in my life. Truth and facts. And when you tell the truth, good things happen. And I got opiates, which my body desperately needed, because if you saw me in pain, I could not be doing this. I couldn't pay attention to a TV show 6, 7 years ago. I could not. Because my pain was so bad. And the drugs had me all messed up. So, I am pleading with everybody who sees this. Share it everywhere you can. Whatever groups you might belong to, anything. Tag the president, tag your state representatives, tag your senators, your legislators, your governors, your law enforcement officials, your medical professionals. Tag the Surgeon General, because he's the one who should be saying cannabis is great. I vote for Sanjay Gupta because he knows. He apologized for his role in the anti-cannabis campaigns 20 years ago because he learned. All older drugs with proven track records of safety are being supplanted by these new age biologics. Like I said before, we don't need a better pill, especially when this better pill gives rise to things like tuberculosis, diabetic coma, cancers, and ultimately death. The cancer industry kills 70% of their patients. Cannabis cures 70% or more of cancer patients. Now, the cancer industry will never tell you they'll cure the cancer, and they can't even promise remission. They'll do that outside. And of the 30% of chemo radiation patients that live, their time is limited. I'm sorry to say, if you're watching this, your time is limited unless you can start utilizing medical cannabis now. Because within 5 to 15 years, the chemo has not left your body, the radiation has not left your body, and the cancer has not left your body. And within 5 to 15 years, 10 years is the average, the cancer, radiation, and chemo all resurge and come back so hard and so fast that sometimes you're dead before you know you're sick. Facts, people. Big Pharma ultimately kills 100% of cancer patients. And it's sick. It's sickening and disheartening. Like I said, they only care about the money. Cancer patients that die under treatment, their families are stuck with these horrendous bills of thousands of dollars to stick these poisons in your arm. And even, I think if the cancer industry killed you, your family should not be liable for any more money. Because they didn't fix you. They couldn't help you. And they made it worse. And 9 times out of 10, chemo and radiation will make the cancer worse. This has been scientifically proven. It's out there. Google. Get down to the last page here. It is way past time for some kind of accountability in the medical and pharmaceutical and cancer industries. And the DOJ, the DEA, and the FDA need to be put on notice that the more they tell us cannabis is bad for us, the more information comes out to show they're wrong. But they're politicians. They can't be wrong. So they come up with skewed facts and made up numbers. Okay? Jeff Sessions has been doing that. Good people don't smoke marijuana. Up yours, Jay Sessions. The DEA. They pay the National Guard to go out and burn wild growing hemp. You can't smoke hemp. You can't. It's terrible. But the leaves contain the non-psychoactive, non-addicting CBD. That is a very potent cancer cure. So the DEA and the National Guard are out there burning this ditchweed that actually could help people through cancer. Our wonderful government, when B17, Laetrile came out in the 70s, the bitter almond tree, high amounts of B17. People started to cure their own cancer. So the bitter almond tree was banned from the country. Follow the money. Does it sound like they have our health at stake? No. It's all about the cancer industry and them needing to make money. Oh, well, they have to eat, Yeah, well, the patient's family has to eat when you're pumping $10,000 in their arm every week. Okay? Think about that bullshit. And the so-called opioid epidemic is bullshit. Big Pharma is pushing their new pills like Lyra and Humira, etc. And that's why they're calling it an opioid epidemic, because they want to sell their pills. That's it. Truth and facts, people. Now, like I said, I'm not hooked on opiates. Like I said, I went 7 hours. My wife had to tell me, look, you didn't take your morning pills. And I didn't, because I had stuff sitting in front of it. And I didn't look at the box, and I didn't think about it. What does an opiate addict or a heroin addict do? As soon as they take that hit, they want the next hit. That's addiction. Now, if I go 7 hours without my pill because I didn't even see it or think about it, is that addiction? No, it's not. So, the quality of life. I tried to stick to my script as much as possible. Sorry I went off track. But everything I speak is truth and sooth. I study, I research. All my 133 videos I pick up off the internet. And if I find some things that some people have called me out and said, oh, this isn't true, this is. And I've re-researched and said, oh, you're right. And I back up on my video. If you catch me wrong, boom, tell me. But I know I'm not wrong in this. And I know that cannabis is happy, hungry, healthy. That's it. In fact, I gotta get high. I look high now, but I'm not. This is pain. I'm up in the 8, maybe 9 range, which is really bad. But I have some really good cannabis salve. I rub it on my temples and forehead, and it actually gets in there and helps my headaches. And it doesn't give you a skin buzz. You don't get high from it. It's just a salve. It doesn't taste good. But I make my own concentrates. I make this green dragon. Just soak buds in alcohol. Pulls out the THC. Makes a very potent tincture that I take just a little partial, 1/3 of a dropper per dose, about 5 times a day. And I make it myself. I have everything else I need. I have my whole pharmaceutical thing here. If you go back through my videos, you'll see. Because I do show and tells. I show you what I do, and I tell you. There's at least 3 videos where I repeated myself and went over the entire list of diseases, disorders, and syndromes that cannabis fixes or cures. Hundreds. And out of those hundreds of diseases, there's thousands of symptoms that cannabis helps. So, in closing, help me out. Share this. Tag it with state reps and whoever you can think of that has some kind of pull that can get Washington to pull their heads out of their asses and legalize cannabis for medical use in all 50 states with reciprocity, which means you can travel with your weed. You can get on board a plane with your weed, as long as you're not leaving the country to go to a country that doesn't allow it. But if you're going to a country that allows weed, reciprocity. Okay, they're talking about the Second Amendment and gun reciprocity, concealed carry. I can go from here to Texas with my gun under my belt. But I can't do it with weed. They get you for interstate trafficking for that. It's ridiculous. Cannabis is not a drug. Period. Because it does not contain any of the elements of your normal drugs. It contains amino acids, and it and it's THCA, CBDA. Everything has an acid marker when it's first picked, and they decarb it and dry it, and that's when it goes green, and it increases the THC potency, and makes the bud the way it's supposed to be. And I don't know, just everything that it comes down to is that cannabis is safe. There's too many success stories out there with Rick Simpson, Tommy Chong, Dennis Hill, biochemist, and there's been children. Okay? There's one with Chris DeMay, stuck in a wheelchair with painful multiple sclerosis. She's deadly against drugs. But her parents took her to a medical marijuana dispensary, and she finally relented and said, okay. Changed her life. One brownie changed her life. And she is now almost pain-free with multiple sclerosis. And it's helping keep the disease calm and keep it from progressing. And she said, if you had asked me a year ago if I would try pot, I would say no, not that dangerous drug. She says, but I tried it, and I found out that pot is not a drug. It's amino acids. It's the building blocks of life. Our cannabinoid receptors, we have one in our head, the two cannabinoid receptors in the head, CB1, CB2. CB1 is basically your THC. But THC has use throughout the rest of the body. Go back to my videos and you'll hear me talk about your liver will say, well, I want that cannabinoid as it's going through your bloodstream. I want this, I want that, I want that. Your body is smart. Smarter than the politicians who are against pot. Because your body knows that it needs cannabis. Because you have the endocannabinoid system. And it's on our immune system for a reason. Okay? I shouldn't have to explain after saying immune system. That should be all I need to say. And that's all I'm going to say just before I hit an hour here. I was going to try to keep it at 45, but I did my little talk afterwards. So, I want to say peace out. Love, truth, and happiness. We need to free cannabis and hemp from the prison of political hatred, bigotry, and ignorance. Because that's what prohibition is based on. We need to regulate alcohol. Because stoned drivers don't drive stoned. Alcoholic drivers think they're sober and drive. That's why law enforcement officials are for pot. Because they've seen the results of a drunk driving accident. Where the drunk is nice and loose and lives because he just goes with the flow. But he kills other people. And I know I've seen many scenes. I've stopped to aid some car accidents where a drunk driver T-boned some people because he ran a light, and he literally killed 3 people. It was horrifying. Alcohol. Cannabis does not do that. Cannabis does not work like alcohol. Cannabis does not work like an opiate. And that's why it should not be scheduled as an opiate. It should not be on the list of narcotics alone because there are no narcotic effects to cannabis. I'll say it again, folks, in closing. Free marijuana from the prison of ignorance. Let's get this population of America happy, hungry, and healthy. Thank you.